When my wife and I finally bought our first house, I thought it was going to be the happiest chapter of our lives. We had been married for 3 years, both working stable jobs, saving every spare dollar for a place of our own. Apartments felt temporary, like extended layovers before real life began. We wanted permanence. We wanted a place where we could grow old together. That's why when we found the old 2-story house on the edge of town, we signed the paperwork almost immediately. It wasn't perfect. The siding was peeling, the roof needed repairs, and the garden had been left to rot for years, but it was ours. Ours to fix, ours to live in. The previous owner, an older man with thin white hair and a face like dry paper, barely looked me in the eye as he handed over the keys. His hand trembled as he gestured to the side of the living room, where a heavy wooden door had been sealed over with sheet metal, welded shut seam by seam. "The basement stays closed," he told us, his voice flat, rehearsed, like he had said it many times before. "It's sealed for a reason. Don't tamper with it." I laughed a little nervously, but he didn't smile. He only repeated, "It stays closed." At the time, I assumed it was something mundane. Maybe mold. Maybe a collapsed foundation. Maybe the guy was just paranoid. Either way, we weren't planning to rip the place apart. So I nodded and said, "Sure, of course." We moved in the following week. The first nights were quiet, peaceful, even. We were exhausted from unpacking, cleaning, scrubbing away years of dust. The house smelled like wood and old paper, and it creaked constantly, but that was to be expected. We joked about the sealed basement door. "Every horror movie starts this way," my wife said, nudging me with her elbow. "We'll be the idiots who open it." "Not a chance," I told her, laughing. "I have seen enough horror movies to know better." But that was before the sounds began. The first time I heard it, I thought it was a dream. It was around 3 in the morning, and I woke up to the faintest scrape, like wood dragging across stone, a single long note of friction. I blinked in the dark, listening, my ears straining. It came again, slow, deliberate, a chair leg across a floor. I sat up, holding my breath. My wife slept soundly beside me, her chest rising and falling. The sound faded. After a few minutes, I convinced myself it was nothing. Old houses make noise. Maybe it was pipes or wood shifting with the night air. But the next night, at almost the exact same time, I heard it again. The same scrape, the same slow, deliberate drag. It was coming from beneath us. I got out of bed and crept through the house, flashlight in hand. The sealed door stood silently in the corner of the living room just as it always had. Welded, shut tight. I shone my light along the seams, half expecting to see some gap, some space where the sound might leak through. Nothing. I even knocked on the metal like an idiot. "Hello," I whispered. Silence. I shook my head at myself, embarrassed, and went back upstairs. By the time I slipped under the covers again, my wife stirred. "What's wrong?" She mumbled. "Nothing. Just house noises." She drifted back to sleep. I lay awake until dawn. On the third night, the sound grew louder. Not just the scraping anymore, but a dull thud, like something heavy being set down or knocked over. This time my wife sat bolt upright. "You hear that, right?" she whispered. I swallowed hard. "Yeah." It's coming from the basement. I nodded. There was no denying it anymore. The following days blurred together. We tried to distract ourselves with work, chores, plans for renovations. But as soon as night fell, the dread crept in. We both stayed up later than usual, huddled in front of the TV with the volume turned up. The noises still cut through. Scraping, thuds. On the seventh night, I swear I heard something else. Footsteps. Bare feet shuffling slowly across stone. I froze on the couch, my heart hammering. The sound was rhythmic, steady, circling. I turned to my wife. Her face was pale. "Tell me that's the neighbors," she whispered. "There are no neighbors that close," I said. She started to cry. By the 10th night, we were barely sleeping. I started drinking coffee at all hours just to stay awake, because the idea of being unconscious, while that was happening, below us filled me with terror. My wife begged me to leave. "We can't stay here," she said, gripping my hand so tightly her knuckles turned white. "Please, let's just sell the place, take the loss." "I don't care." I can't listen to it any more. I promised her I'd figure it out, that there had to be some explanation. Rats, pipes, something. But deep down, I knew. Rats don't drag chairs across stone floors. Pipes don't whisper. The 11th night broke me. I woke to the sound directly beneath our bedroom. First the scrape of the chair, then 3 slow, deliberate knocks against the ceiling. My skin crawled, and then came the voice, faint, muffled, but clear enough that there was no mistaking the words. "Open?" I felt every hair on my body rise. My wife gasped beside me, clutching my arm. "Did you—" she began, but I was already moving. I don't know what possessed me, what insane compulsion drove me, but I grabbed a hammer and flashlight and went downstairs. The house was deathly silent except for the faint, steady scraping from behind the sealed door. I pressed my ear against the cold metal. A whisper slid through, low and rasping. "Open the door." Something in me snapped. I raised the hammer and began pounding at the welds. Each strike echoed like gunfire in the empty house. Sparks flew as the seams cracked. Finally, in one spot I managed to chip through, creating a narrow hole. My breath caught as I shined the flashlight inside. The beam cut through the darkness, illuminating a small basement room. Stone walls, damp floor, and in the very center, a wooden chair. Old, splintered, empty. Relief surged through me for half a second. Nothing was there. Nothing but a chair. Then I angled the beam further. Along the far wall stood 6 more chairs, identical, all facing the center. Each one slightly pulled back, as if someone had just risen from it. The scrape echoed again, but this time it wasn't from the darkness of the basement. It was right in front of me. Let's take action and embrace inner peace. Achieving inner peace is a personal and unique journey. Here are some general approaches that might be helpful. 1. Meditate. Regularly, meditation encourages a clear mind and calm spirit, allowing you to disconnect from worldly concerns and focus on your inner self. 2. Maintain physical health. Regular exercise, a healthy diet, and good sleep habits can significantly improve your mental state. 3. Spend time in nature, whether it's a walk in the park, stargazing, or listening to the ocean. Spending time in nature can effectively help you achieve peace. Let's take action and embrace inner peace. But every time I look at those darkened windows after sunset, I see it. A faint flicker of light, as if someone or something is still sitting down there, waiting for me to come back and finish what I started.